It's an incident that has shocked people across this country. Deputies in San Bernardino County, California, subduing a suspect last week. The whole thing caught by a camera by this news helicopter. The suspect here tried to get away on a horse, but once on the ground, he was repeatedly punched and kicked by these deputies. Multiple investigations are now underway. Joining me now, Francis Pusok, the suspect who was beaten, and his attorneys, James, Terrell, and Sharon Brunner. Welcome to all of you tonight. And Francis, my goodness, let me just begin with you. I understand, when you were in the middle of this in the desert on the ground, you thought you were going to die.
I did.
Tell me what happened. Tell me how many times you were kicked and beaten. Do you recall?
It felt like an eternity. I thought it was never going to end.
Do I still see a bruised left eye here, some of your injuries from that incident last week?
Yeah. A lot of my injuries are underneath. You could see a few grazes on my head, or lacerations on the head and my eye.
Francis, have you actually sat and watched this video? Have you seen it yourself?
A few times. I've seen edited versions of it.
And your thoughts watching yourself in this video?
Completely unnecessary. Even without watching the video, completely unnecessary.
Jim, I want to talk to you in just a second, but Francis, let me just stay with you. I understand this all began after deputies were trying to serve a search warrant in this identity theft investigation. You hopped in a car, you got out of there. At some point, you stole a horse. This whole pursuit with deputies, this thing lasted 2 hours. I have to ask, why were you running?
I left the house. Originally, the cops were coming to, they tried ramming me, and they sent me through a fence. And I've had previous encounters where they have beaten me, so I was trying to avoid that.
I understand previous encounters also involve convictions, according to court records, resisting arrest, animal cruelty, attempted robbery. Is that correct as well, sir?
That's correct.
So when you're there in the desert, what's happening? You're being tased, they're punching you, they're kicking you. In your head at the time, why do you think they were doing that?
I believe that's their protocol.
That sort of excessive
I believe
force,
they're trained
you think?
that way.
Why do you think that?
Bad trainers, wrong trainers.
For their side of this, let me just let our viewers know, of course, we reached out to the Sheriff's Department tonight, and they referred us to the news conference on Friday. So just some of the notes from that Sheriff, John McMahon, based on what he saw in the video, the use of force appears to be excessive. This is what he acknowledged. An administrative and a criminal investigation is being conducted, and if there is criminal wrongdoing, he acknowledged that they will, in fact, take action. I can tell you that 10 deputies, Francis, as you well know, they're on administrative leave. What would you like to have happened to them?
Oh, I would like the FBI to look into their backgrounds and see their history. See if there's any excessive force, multiple incidents of excessive force.
And if there is...
I know, just on...
Go ahead, please jump in. Please jump in, Sharon.
On my behalf, Brooke, I know that my client and our client has discussed that he wants this to stop. He wants there to be reform. He wants accountability. The reason that he fled in the first place is because he has been beaten in the past, and there's documented evidence of that. And he didn't want that to happen again. He knew it was going to happen, and it did happen. So I know he's had some long conversations with us about it has to stop, and he doesn't want anybody else to have to go through what he went through. This was just so brutal.
Yeah, and if I could just comment here, is that this is an ongoing problem we have here. Both Sharon and myself are also involved in another case with another FBI ongoing investigation as to how this department runs the jail. This isn't a new thing about people being fearful or brutality on the roads and highways in San Bernardino County. This is something that goes on all the time. And I know, after talking to Francis, the number one thing he wants is for this to stop. And we want some kind of thing like the FBI or the Civil Rights Division out of Washington, D.C. involved. There's not going to be a solution by this sheriff at all. That's not going to happen.
Okay, I understand you want the other investigations, and we'll be following all of this with you to see where this goes with these multiple investigations. Francis Pusok, Jim Terrell, Sharon Brunner, thank you, the three of you, tonight for your time. I really appreciate it.